For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Russia launched 7 rockets in the Ukrainian city of Zaparitia today, flattening an apartment building and killing at least 3 people, according to Ukraine's emergency services, which says it pulled 3 bodies from the rubble. This comes as Ukraine continues to gain momentum in Kherson, one of the 4 regions Russia annexed. Meanwhile, Russia's rejected Ukraine's genocide claims at the International Criminal Court of Justice after flouting much of its request for response. It's also said it's taking over the Zaparitia nuclear power plant. Russia says it's welcoming the United Nations nuclear watchdog to Moscow soon. It's also to visit Kiev this week. The leaders of 4 European countries are meeting in what many say is a united stand against Russia's war on Ukraine amidst an energy crisis and high inflation fueled by the conflict. The inaugural summit of the European political community today involves the 27 European Union member countries, aspiring partners in the Balkans and Eastern Europe, as well as neighbors like Britain and Turkey. Here's European Union President Charles Michel.
This meeting is extremely important. This will be the first one, and it will be an important meeting because we share the same continent and we face the same challenges, and we'll have the occasion to address how we can try to improve the cooperation, the coordination, in order to have more stability, more security, more peace.
Russia is the one major European power not invited, along with its neighbor and supporter in the war, Belarus. European Union countries agreed to a new round of sanctions on Russia Wednesday, following Moscow's illegal annexation of 4 eastern Ukrainian regions. The sanctions include a price cap on Russian oil and other new economic punishments. More from Alex Kadia in Brussels.
This is the 8th round of sanctions agreed by the European Union against Russia, this time following Moscow's illegal annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions. Russian individuals involved in the referenda in those regions will be targeted directly by these sanctions, and the price at which Russian oil can be purchased in the EU will also be capped, with the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen suggesting that a price cap on Russian gas may be next.
That's Alex Kadia reporting. In the U.S., President Joe Biden surveyed the devastation of Hurricane Ravage, Florida, yesterday. It's the worst hurricane to hit the U.S. this year. Christopher Martinez reports.
President Biden opened his remarks by linking the disaster to a broader issue, climate change.
Unfortunately, I've been to a lot of disaster areas in the last couple months, last 6 months. You know, more fires have burned in the west and the southwest, burned everything right to the ground than the entire state of New Jersey, as much room as that takes up. And the reservoirs out west are down to almost zero. We're in a situation where the Colorado River looks more like a stream. There's a lot going on. And I think the one thing this has finally ended is a discussion about whether or not there's climate change and we should do something about it.
Biden described some of the federal aid that has already begun, such as sending food, water, and generators, prepositioning the largest number of search and rescue teams ever assembled in the U.S., and sending the Army Corps of Engineers to keep the power on at hospitals, nursing homes, and water treatment plants. And he says that's not the end of it.
We're here today because we wanted to tell you in person that we're thinking of you, and we're not leaving. We're not leaving until this gets done. I promise you that.
Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
In Thailand, a former policeman burst into a daycare center, killing dozens of children and teachers, then firing on more people as he fled. It's the deadliest rampage in the nation's history. Authorities say the assailant was fired from the force earlier this year because of a drug offense. He then later took his own life after killing his wife and child at home. A federal appeals court in the U.S. has ordered a lower court review of the Biden administration's revisions to DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program that prevents the deportation of hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said a federal district judge in Texas should take another look at the program following the revisions adopted in August. The ruling leaves the future of DACA up in the air, with current recipients protected for now, but new applicants barred. President Joe Biden said in a statement he was disappointed in the ruling and called the challenge, quote, another example of the extreme agenda being pushed by MAGA Republican officials, unquote. He also called on Congress to pass immigration reform. More than 500,000 people in the U.S. are DACA recipients, some 611,000. The Biden administration has made some adjustments to federal student loan forgiveness eligibility after lawsuits filed by Republican states challenging the president's student debt cancellation plans. Nadia Ramlagan has more.
The Education Department says some borrowers with Perkins loans and federal family education loans may no longer be eligible for debt relief. Young America's Foundation President Scott Walker says today's students eye the cost of college with more skepticism than ever before.
What we saw is the universities just said, oh, great, so our students have more access to loans they can take out to pay higher tuition, and they kept jacking up tuition up along the way.
I'm Nadia Ramlagan for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
And I'm Christina Onnested reporting for Pacifica Radio.